This is my persuasive speech for speech 1311. Today I'm going to be talking about racial profiling and the effects that it has on our nation. Significant bias in the killing of unarmed black Americans relative to unarmed white Americans, in that the probability of being black, unarmed, and shot by the police is about 3.49 times the probability of being white, unarmed, and shot by the police on average. Following the study of Professor Davis from the University of California, a multi-level basin analysis of racial bias in police shooting at the county level in the United States from 2011 to 2014, it can be seen that the issue of racial profiling is an impending issue we face today. In today's speech, I will present the issue of racial profiling, both by unarmed officials and by regular people, as well as some positive actions to combat racial profiling as individuals. Racial profiling for police officers is the first topic we'll go over today. In the case of Brown versus Colorado Springs, in this case it presents itself where two young African Americans were targeted by the Colorado Springs police officers on March 25th, 2015. During the incident involved the two young men being stopped in a primarily white neighborhood while driving back home when they were about to make a right turn. During the incident, Officer Nelson initiated the stop based on the pure reason that both Ryan and Benjamin were African American. Officer Nelson proceeded to harass Ryan and Benjamin by refusing to tell them the reason why they were pulled over, pointing out his taser at Benjamin, demanding that Benjamin exit the vehicle. After realizing he was being recorded by Ryan, he ordered Ryan out of the vehicle while Officer DeWiller pointed her gun at Ryan. Throughout this whole process, we can see that both men were cooperating perfectly fine. They were asking him, hey, why am I being stopped? The officer did not comply. He used force on them to be able to get them out of the car. Throughout this whole time, there's three main points to take away from this. The first being that he targeted them simply because they were driving slowly through a high crime area in law enforcement code for driving while black. They were in a white predominant area, and they are black African Americans. They are African Americans. So this is a high crime area, is a level enforcement code for driving while black. The second point to really point out would be that the Colorado Springs Police Department has an explicit policy requiring officers to inform drivers of the basis of the traffic stop. Despite the explicit policy, Officer Nelson repeatedly refused to provide Benjamin and Ryan this information. This is a picture of the report. In the report, right here it says, unjustly required drivers, they stopped to exit and the vehicle. While doing this, right here it says that Ryan had asked Officer Nelson why he was stopped, which is, by Colorado Springs Police Department, it is required for a police officer to explain to the driver in order to have a better environment why they were stopped. But Officer Nelson denied the two boys this luxury because they were simply black, and he did not have a reason to stop them other than that fact. And the third reason will be because a bill passed summer 2015 ensures Colorado residents can record police officers as long as they are not obstructing an officer. Ryan was taken out of the vehicle just because he was recording, but he was in the obstruction of justice. So this is another red flag that points out to the differences between how the police officers will act towards African Americans, which is racial profiling. Although most times than not, police officers are involved in incidents during racial profiling, a lot of the times the public are the instigators in these types of situations. Regular people are usually the ones to call the police based on racial discrimination. Racial profiling from the public. Racially profiled in Starbucks. In this incident, there were two men who were racially profiled at the Philadelphia Starbucks. Rashawn Nelson and Dante Robinson, both were 23 years old, were arrested for trespassing. They were arrested for trespassing. After the incident, it was shown that a couple of Starbucks employees thought that the two men were there for trouble, since they hadn't initially bought anything. But a staff member told him it was for paying customers only, because Nelson was planning on going to the restaurant before they had bought anything, and the employee did deny him that privilege because they thought they were looking for trouble. He did not think much about this hostility. The two boys were there because they were planning on meeting with Andrew Yaffe, a local businessman, in order to pitch their new idea to him. Now, this case escalated quickly from racial profiling. The two employees called the police after thinking that they were loitering and that they were trespassing without buying anything. But in reality, they were just there to have a meeting. There's two main points to take away from this case. The first point being that the police commissioner, Richard Ross, said that the arresting officers did absolutely nothing wrong and that the two men were being disrespectful to the officers, which this is not true because the mayor, Jim Kenney, disagreed and said that the event exemplifies what racial discrimination looks like in 2018 after reviewing the video that was taken by Yaffe, the man that they were planning on meeting at Starbucks. The second point is that both men went to Starbucks. The two men want the Starbucks chain to implement changes such as customer bill of rights, new policies regarding customer rejections, both racial profiling and discrimination, and an independent probe to examine complaints of profiling and discrimination made by customers and employees. So this is one way that we can, as individuals, help racial profiling become less of a problem. People in power are regular people too, who might follow a racially discriminatory agenda. Although most of these people do get power by being elected fairly, this goes hand in hand with the unconscious and conscious racial discrimination being done by the people who elect those in power. Racial profiling from government officials. Joe Appirio says he will never apologize for racially profiling Latinos. After being pardoned, retired Arizona sheriff reports that he does not have anything to apologize for, even though he has been seen in a case where it was proven where he was involved in racial profiling. Although the Justice Department found that Appirio's officers called Latinos wetbags and excused language with Mexican, blank Mexicans and stupid Mexicans, he doesn't think that his reputation as a department's leader suffered that the demographic. He doesn't believe that he did anything wrong from racially profiling Latinos, and this was carried out throughout the department. This man held an office of power for more than 23 years, and throughout these years, he allowed these types of racially discriminatory outlooks towards Latinos, and he believes that he did nothing wrong. There's two main points to take out from this case. Number one being that President Trump was the one who pardoned Joe Appirio for violating the terms of 2011 court case in the racial profiling case. The second point is that the President of the United States we have today nationally forgave a man who for 23 years has run a racially discriminatory Arizona police station. That has been repeated from case after case of racial profiling. This is a giant step of racial profiling. And finally, despite society believing that outright celebrating that racial profiling is not a problem we face as a nation anymore, racial profiling has been a troubling issue that has been a long-standing since slaves were freed in 1863. Racial profiling occurs in national, state, and local areas all around the United States. It occurs when the law enforcement target people solely based on the color of their skin and humiliate and frighten them during their daily lives as well as during interrogation or unwanted searches. The ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, best describes what racial profiling is and what it does. Racial profiling is patently illegal, violating the U.S. Constitution. Is patently illegal and violates the U.S. Constitution's core promise for equal protection under the law to all and freedom from unreasonable search and seizures. Racial profiling causes law enforcement and the people around the nation to lose their trust in each other. That's supposed to be invested in each other. My work's at it, and I would like to thank everyone.